Right, let's get the thoughts then from Chris McDonald, Chief Executive of the Materials Processing Institute, which works with the global steel and materials industries to carry out research. Chris also used to work for Tata, so very familiar with its Port Talbot plant. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Natasha. Thank you for inviting me on this morning.
Thank you for joining us. Good to have you with us. This is a difficult one, isn't it? Because there's sort of no getting away from the fact that Tata has to reduce carbon emissions to reach these targets, but you need money to do that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, you're right. You do need money to do that. It's one of the biggest challenges that we have for tackling climate change is how to decarbonise our steel sector. And it's a global challenge. You know, the United Nations is working on it and lots of countries are around the world. But it's a challenge that does need partnership between governments and industry as well. And we've seen in the last few weeks a lot of European governments making announcements alongside their big industrial emitters that they'll work with them to make the investment needed to decarbonise their industry.
Yeah, and, it's like you said, it's not just a problem for Tata, it's a problem as a whole at the moment. But when you work at that site, for the people who work there, for the thousands that have worked there, they'll be, really worried when they hear this, that sort of word, the threat of shutting down operations. Sounds very serious.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know the plant well. I've worked in the steel industry for 20 years. I've always been based in the northeast, but I've spent time working in Port Talbot. I know the plant well. I know the people. I've worked alongside them. But also, I've worked in a place in Teesside where we've been through this and we've seen the closure of our steelworks as well. And I think the important message that we need to get across here is that the Port Talbot Steelworks is the largest in the UK. It's a vital part of our industrial infrastructure. And actually, if we're talking about decarbonisation, there's no way we can have a clean, decarbonised economy without a steel industry, because we need steel for electric vehicles, for infrastructure, for offshore wind, for all of these things. And in fact, economists have said we need to put as much infrastructure in over the next 15 years as we've put in essentially since the dawn of time. And a lot of that will be steel-based. So we need clean steel to do that.
Yeah, and, huge task. Nobody's questioning that for the UK steel industry at the moment. Is there a concern for those jobs, those people that who you've worked with? Because with this modern technology, if it does all work and go ahead, will there be that big demand for that big workforce?
So people, can be concerned about that. And I think what we need to realise is, and this is bigger than steel, it's across the economy, as companies invest to go green, they'll go smart as well. And that involves investing in new technology, which will improve productivity. And actually, productivity improvement is something we need in the UK steel industry to make sure that we're competitive with other nations as well. And I think there are two sides to this. So one is, invest in new technology, more productive, there'll be fewer jobs to make the same amount of steel. But the UK steel industry is actually quite small for the size of our country. It's only about half the size that it should be. We make only a third of the amount of steel as Italy, only about a fifth the amount of steel as Germany. And so if we had an investment in new technology, there's real opportunity there to actually grow the size of the industry.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us this morning, giving us some insight into that. That's Chris McDonald there, Chief Executive of the Materials Processing Institute, working with global steel and materials industries to carry out this sort of research, who also worked at Tata as well.